So, as I'm sure you guys can tell from the title of this video, today we're going to be talking about me and the future of this channel and basically what it means for, the content and me as a competitor. So, I guess just to give this video a little bit of context to start with here, at the time of recording this, we're about 36 hours removed from the 2025 VGC World Championships. Obviously, I had an incredible weekend. There was a lot of support this weekend. The videos I put out did fantastic. I got a lot of great feedback as well, right? I got a lot of, positive stuff about both my commentary and my analysis, which was obviously, yeah, pretty cool. And it all obviously wrapped up yesterday with the conclusion of the World Championships and the announcement of the two new games that are coming in the near future. So just to give this video a little bit of context, I guess, obviously, I did quite a bit of coverage over the weekend for the World Championships, right? And it was pretty successful for me in the channel. I got a lot of really positive feedback in regards to both my commentary and my analysis, which was really, really cool. And on top of that, I just had a great weekend, right? It was fantastic. I had so much fun, following Worlds, doing commentary videos, doing analysis of the whole thing. It was really good. And then obviously, it obviously ends up with us getting the announcement or some trailers for Legends EA and of course Pokemon Champions. And then because of that, it's kind of left me in this weird place where I've kind of just really been thinking about the future of the channel, right? Because if you followed the channel for a little bit, this year I was very inactive compared to the two previous years. I think this year I've done like maybe like 30-ish videos. I don't know if I even hit that many, where in previous years, I would do hundreds, right? I had months where, I would have, daily uploads for like a straight month, right? Especially like when new formats were announced. And again, I've been really like inactive, but I've had this like itch really for the past like 3 months to really make content. But the reason I haven't been has just been because I just wasn't a fan of the restricted formats. I was so excited going into them, and I just found them really not enjoyable. For me, I'm someone who likes to be like really creative in the team builder. I always liked making, some like good stuff, but it was always a bit off meta, right? I liked playing good teams that weren't necessarily considered the best teams in the metagame. And because of that, I've just been uninterested, I guess, in, making a lot of content around the game recently. But obviously, again, I've been wanting to make content, haven't wanted to do the restricted stuff, kind of is what it is. But now, Worlds is behind us, we're kind of stepping into that next phase, I guess, with Pokemon, right? And, when I look back, I made this channel, right before Scarlet and Violet came out, right? I think when Scarlet and Violet released, I had like 50 subs, man. And obviously, you fast forward now, I'm like over 8,000. And the channel, it keeps growing. I've had a pretty big week in terms of growth, as I mentioned with Worlds. And, this is the first time in, almost 3 years now of making content on this channel where I have a new game, right? And for me, that's pretty big, right? Obviously, Legends EA and Scarlet and Violet, sorry, and Champions are, I think, going to be pretty big. I'm super excited for both of them, and we'll kind of touch on them shortly. But, I've got that itch back now, right? I said I want to make content. We're heading into a future where I don't have to worry as much, I guess, about the restricted legends. Of course, for the very near future, I do. But yeah, obviously, moving forward, we have these, two brand new games, which are pretty exciting. And I'm just really looking forward to making content for them. So I guess before I jump into like specifics, obviously, we'll just talk about the new games briefly before, I talk a bit more in depth about them later. But obviously, Legends EA, right? We just got some news for it. And originally I had no real interest in making content for this game. I was really excited to play it, but I was like, it's a Legends game. It doesn't really fit my channel. Like, the only things really that I'd probably talk about would be potential new Pokemon coming in the game, whether that be, new regional forms, new Mega Evolution, stuff like that. Outside of that, I was like, I'm not like super interested in making stuff, but obviously in the recent trailer, we just saw that there is like online play. Obviously, we have no idea, how it's going to turn out. I don't know if people are going to enjoy watching it or not, or if people are ever going to enjoy playing it. But I think the combat actually looks super interesting, and I don't know if that's a conversation for another video. But I'm really intrigued by it. I'll definitely be playing some ranked at some point. And whether or not I make content on it, I'm not too sure. But as of right now, I plan to make some. How much I don't know, but I did think that was worth mentioning. And then, of course, Pokemon Champions. Again, I won't go into it too much right now because I kind of just want to lay out, I guess, a timeline for like the next 6 months and kind of what I have going on in my head at the minute. And again, that's a big reason why I make these videos, right? Because, again, I'm only like 24 hours into even thinking about this, but I do think like kind of discussing it out loud and potentially getting feedback and stuff like that, could definitely help me in, the way in which I'm thinking about a lot of this stuff. But yeah, Pokemon Champions obviously is going to be huge. I think it's going to be massive for VGC. I've already spoken to my girlfriend about it. I have plans to potentially like take, anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks off when the game launches, just so I can really focus on it full time and pump out a lot of content. But obviously a big part of that too is, I want to hit the ground running, right? I want to have, momentum going into the new games. Right now I have some pretty good momentum, which is why I'm really sad that there wasn't a Shadow Drop this weekend like I was originally hoping for. But that it is what it is, right? I just got to make sure, come the end of the year, come early next year, I'm making content, and I'm just like ready to go for champions, right? But again, I'll jump more into champions, I guess, soon. Probably more towards the end of the video because I just want to kind of discuss, I guess, what the next 6 months looks like for me and the channel, right? Now, obviously, at the time of recording this, it is 19th of August here in Australia, which means I think we're like a little under 2 months away now from the release of ZA. And basically, I guess the next 8 weeks for me really depends on what happens with the global challenge is probably because that was something I don't think I mentioned either. I am planning to make the world's push this year, which is funny because I originally told myself like before we knew what was happening with champions, I'm like, I am not traveling for any Scarlet and Violet events. If there is a event in Perth in December, I'm not traveling for it. If it's Brisbane, maybe just because I've got family up there, but I'm like, I'm not traveling for it. Originally I was excited for Auckland, but now I'm like, I don't know. If Auckland's Scarlet and Violet, I'm definitely not going to play it. If it's champions, then like maybe we'll figure it out. But yeah, basically the next I want to say like 8 weeks, I guess, just to be rough here. Again, it kind of comes down to what happens with the GCs, right? Because I think I'll bounce it back and forth between Regs J and Reg H. I definitely have some stuff planned for Regulation H. Um, sorry, for Regulation J. I want to do some videos with the mythicals. Originally, I was like, oh, I'll do like one video with each mythical, but then I realized there's like 17 of them, and like there's two that are good, four that are like decent, and the rest just feel kind of rough. But who knows? Maybe I really enjoy the format, and I'll continue to make videos with each one of them. Like ideally, over 2 months, maybe I do get a video out with each of them. But again, I feel like I'd have to do like two, 3 a week, something like that, and maybe it's a little too much. Especially through if the global challenges are announced for the near future. I'm expecting GCs. I'm expecting our first GCs probably going to be the end of September. Um, and if that's the case, what's the format going to be, right? If it's Reg H, then, I'm probably not going to play too much Reg J going forward. If it's Reg J, I'm probably not going to play much Reg H going forward. Regardless of which one it is, I'm not too fussed. I'm just honestly excited to jump back into VGC and start playing and practicing again. But yeah, that's essentially what the next 8 weeks are going to look like. Again, if we get any information regarding champions and ZA, I'll probably cover it depending what it is. I think for ZA specifically, it's going to have to be competitive based. Like, if they say, hey, here's Mega Dragon Knight's ability, then let's talk about it. But if it's just like, hey, here's a new mega, I probably don't touch on it till we know more. But again, only time will tell. And of course, ZA. If there's ZA news, I'll cover it. Right? It's competitive Pokemon. That's obviously a big reason why we're making this. I don't know if I was like specific about it, but I'm sure if you're watching this, you've probably seen. Champions is going to be the home for VGC in 2026. And we don't know when the game's releasing. I'm hoping really early, like sometime in January. But again, time will tell. Hopefully, we know that in the coming months. But yeah, that's essentially what the next 8 weeks kind of looks like in the lead up to Legends ZA. Now, speaking of Legends ZA, of course, it's gonna be pretty big. I'm super excited for this. Obviously, there are a bunch of new Mega Evolutions that are coming to the game. I don't want to say too much just because I don't know who does and doesn't follow leaks. But I am someone who's followed the leaks. I heard about Mega Dragonite, for example, last year. And obviously it was only announced a couple months ago. But I have a strong, strong belief that these leaks are real, and we're probably going to be getting, 20 something megas coming in this game. And of course, with them being shown to be coming to champions in the trailers we received yesterday, it's pretty exciting, right? Because obviously, new megas is always cool. Obviously, by the looks of it as well, in the game, we should get the correct base stats. We probably don't get abilities yet, but I still think, base stats alone are enough to, kind of discuss what a Pokemon can and can't do, especially too, because, we'll kind of know what their movesets are like, we'll kind of know what D-Knights, for example, D-Knight, its stats will look like. So there's definitely going to be some conversations we can have regarding that, which I think is going to be really, really fun. And maybe I can make some videos like, will Dragonite be good in VGC? Will Mega be good in VGC? Something like that. And then, yeah, again, when it comes to to ZA, obviously I plan to make some ranked battle content, I guess. Again, we'll see how it goes. I've got no idea if I'm going to even enjoy it. But we'll tackle that when the time comes. And that's kind of going to be that, like, I'm assuming that October to like December window. I guess another thing as well to mention would be like the format, because I think Regulation H ends, I think, end of November, which means like we might move to a different format for like the official events or whatever you want to call it. Um because I think that's what our locals are going to be on from like November. I was like for December, maybe it'll be for November, December. I'm not too sure honestly. I'd have to have a look at it, but if the format changes to something new, then potentially cover that as well. But again, only time will tell. But that's kind of just gonna make up the time between really ZA and Champions. It's gonna be, I'll probably make a bunch of content on the new game. Obviously, I've got some stuff planned, for that. But yeah, again, unfortunately, until we know like when Champions comes out, like if Champions is like March, then it's like crap. Okay, what am I doing between January to March? But if it's like January, I think that's perfect, right? It gives me like 2 months to make a bunch of content on ZA, and then we move over to Champions, and we kind of get into the full swing of things there. And then, of course, finally, Pokemon Champions, right? I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, but obviously, this is a VGC channel. The second Pokemon Champions comes out, I am going to be making as much content as possible. There's going to be a bunch of analysis stuff. There is going to be team building stuff. There is going to be probably guides on how to do things in the game. Anything Pokemon Champions, I am going to be doing. As I said, I'm planning to take a minimum 2 weeks off. The second that game is announced, I'm going straight to my boss and saying, "Hey, I need at least 2 weeks off. Can I get 4?" Something like that, right? It just I'm so excited for it. I will probably be streaming it a bunch too on the channel. So if that is something you're interested in, obviously, hit subscribe, stick around. But yeah, I plan on streaming the game. I'm going to like my goal for at least like 2 to 4 weeks is to treat Pokemon Champions like a full-time job. That is what I want to do. Like I'm so excited. I think this is the future of VGC. I think VGC is potentially about to blow up. Obviously there's still a lot about this game we don't know, right? For example, one of the big things I want is a spectator mode. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Give me a spectator mode. If there is a spectator mode, you best believe anytime Wolf Gillick plays an event, I'm a be in Wolf's DMs, I'm gonna get that friend code, and then I'm gonna stream every game he plays. It's that's my goal, man. I just want to be the number one Wolf Gillick fanboy on YouTube. But no, seriously though, spectator mode I think would be fantastic, right? If we get a proper spectator mode, right, that would then open things up to like community run events. Because again, I love the idea of like hosting a tournament, for example, but without like a way to like properly spectate the game, it just feels too hard, man. It seems like a lot of work trying to organize players that, you know, I guess have capture cards, and then it's like, oh, potentially, I just play in the tournament myself, but it's like at that point, why am I hosting a tournament if I'm playing in it? I don't know, but yeah, Pokemon Champions. I'm super excited for it. I'm going to travel to all the regionals I can. I would love to get to America at some point to play as well. Obviously, that depends. Maybe if the channel blows up enough, maybe I can justify going to like NAIC or something. But ultimately, for me, when it comes to Pokemon Champions, the goal is Worlds next year. That is the big one. I want to be playing at the World Championships in 2026. So yeah, really between I guess now and Champions, it's just get as many points as I can. As I said, I'll play all the global challenges, all the grand challenges. I'll probably put out like teams and stuff like that as well. I don't know if I'll make it public just because it's I don't know if I feel like if I'm gonna go try hard mode to like earn as many points as I can, especially with the changes as well. Like we've had some big changes, man. Like that's another thing I didn't really mention as well. Like I do actually still have some videos planned. I guess for like the next week that'll be regarding like the current format, and then like for example, I'll leak it here. I'm probably going to be recording it tomorrow or the day after anyway, but basically how to qualify for Worlds, right? Obviously with Pokemon Champions, I've had a lot of people commenting on my videos, a lot of people joining my Discord, saying like, hey, I've followed VGC, but I've never really played, but like I'm super excited for Champions. I want to get into it. And I'm sure there is going to be a lot of people like that. This game, again, I feel like I need to make a whole video on this, but the game is going to be free to play. It's going to be on the mobile phone, and it's confirmed you can compete in official events on your mobile phone. I mean, that right there is going to bring a lot of people into the game, man. And because of that, I think there's going to be a lot of people gunning for Worlds next year, and I think they really need to reconsider their BFLs because it's not BFLs, sorry, their caps. Because I can tell you right now, here in Australia, we get 20 slots, and we have a lot more than 20 really good players. And I know in America and that as well, they got, I think, 75 or something in the US. I think maybe they bumped it up to 80. But there is a lot of really good players that are going to miss out on Worlds because of these caps, which is, obviously it's fine, right? But yeah, I would love to see them raise that cap up because I think it's going to be really tough. A lot of people are going to be gunning for Worlds next year. And yeah, because of that, it's going to be really interesting to see, I guess, how it kind of all, plays out. But I mean, look, at this point, I feel like I've kind of just rambled on for the last few minutes anyway. I guess, yeah, ultimately, just to I guess, lay out my plans a bit quicker. The next week or so, like, I have some stuff planned, right? I've still got one regulation I video that I'm planning, and I actually spent like an hour before recording this, planning that video out, so I'm hoping to get it done this weekend. Again, I kind of leaked that idea before, but I'll probably be doing like a how to qualify for the Worlds 2026. And then from there, it's going to be probably just at least for the between now and like the announcement of the global challenge, which I'm guessing is going to be like sometime early September. It's probably just going to be like regulation J content. I'll probably do some mythical stuff. I'll maybe do some like team building stuff. I've got a couple mythicals I'm really interested in. So maybe I'll do some stuff there and pump out some videos. But then yeah, I guess it's kind of just a waiting game. Find out what's happening with global challenges. Go from there. That leads into ZA, make some ZA content for hopefully 2 to 3 months. That leads into champions, bada bing, bada boom. We're off to the moon, man. But yeah, I guess look, as I said, I've rambled on long enough. If there's anything you guys want to see me, I guess like make, let me know down below. Obviously there's a lot of really cool stuff, and I know a lot of people really like the analysis and whatnot. And the other big thing actually as well is I was kind of surprised. I made a poll last night, like, do people want regulation H or sorry, yeah, reg H or reg J? And the poll was like surprisingly 50-50. I thought it was gonna like heavily lean one way or the other. It didn't, but I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I guess again, I've rambled on. I'm gonna end it here. Thank you guys for watching. Anything you guys want to see me make in the future, let me know down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.